If I find my way home, yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy? Don't you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Don't you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Don't you still amaze me?
So what's up, guys? This is Better Than Static. I'm Tyler, as usual, but we got a couple other people on the show. As usual, we have Lucas. Luke is up at the top.
Okay.
And in the bottom right, yes, bottom right, my right. I don't know if it'll be your all's left. I don't know. But this is Brian Rodman and Robyn Rodman. Say hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
So special guest that you guys can see and or hear, whether you're watching the video or listening to the audio version. These are our friends. They're super cool because Brian is writing a comic book, and that's and Robyn is definitely in on that process. So we thought we'd have them both on the show and kind of talk about what his book's about, his comic book's about, and then kind of the writing process. What's the hard part? What's the easy part? And then just kind of get to know Brian because, you know, why not? He's cool and Robyn's cool.
Well, thank you.
So if you keep up with our like YouTube stuff, you probably recognize Robyn and Brian because they've been in two of our mini docs. You guys were in the Derby City Comic Con one and then the Lexicon, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
think so, yeah.
Yeah, I was that awkward guy that was like trying not to look at the camera and like trying not to say stupid things. That was me. And she was the one that was the pretty one next to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the first one you guys were like, you were Robin Hood and Little John, so that might be memorable for him.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
That was a good one. That was actually when we first found out you guys were writing a comic book. Like, we've been friends for probably 6 years. Most, probably.
Somewhere, yeah. Yeah.
However long ago, I don't know.
I think, yeah. It was
My
about
goodness,
then.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're old.
We met in college, and I like, they didn't know we were doing the podcast, so we didn't know they were doing the comic book, and it just all worked out.
We're like, hey,
All right.
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
we know you guys. Well, what was super weird was like we had somebody come up to us and was like, "Hey, I got an interview for you," and I'm like, "Okay," and we go over there and it's Brian and Robyn. And I'm like, "Oh, hey, I know you guys."
Was it David?
Yeah.
David Jarrett?
Yeah, it was David. Yeah, he was like going to everybody. He's like, "You should check these people out. You should check these people out." He was like Oprah with business cards, just like throwing it out.
Extraordinary.
Yeah.
And it was just like over my head until he went up to the booth. I was like, "Lucas, hopefully this goes good. I don't know."
Yeah.
And then it ended up going great.
Yeah, we didn't know if we could trust him or not because he was, like you said, he was just like, go talk to these people and these people and these people, and we were just like, okay.
All right, why not?
Yeah. Pretty sure it was our first.
No, it was our second one.
Is that our first one?
No,
as
Cincinnati
well?
was our first one.
Yeah, so.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That
that's
one.
right.
Okay, so if you guys thought we were awkward at Derby City, you should have seen us at Cincinnati Comic Con.
Yeah, somebody had to ask us for an interview to get us started.
Yeah. Somebody asked us for the interview, not us. It was super weird. So now I'm gonna actually do another interview. This is y'all's third Better Than Static interview, I think. So
I know I think we're officially fancy now. Like that's what that means.
you're definitely regulars now. You're super fancy. You're VIP right now.
VIP.
So like these first couple questions are trying to get to know each other, and we're all gonna answer these. I told them prior to the interview, hey, don't worry, it's gonna be more of a conversation than an interview. But the first question is, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Ooh. I don't want to go first.
Well, Robyn doesn't want to go first.
I'll run.
Lucas, you going first?
I'll go with it. I'll go with it. Like, I feel like the popular one is to say flying, because you can get to places quickly. But I think I would go more towards like teleportation, so it's like instant. You can just kind of think about it and be there, not the Nightcrawler thing where you have to see where you're going, but something where you can just go wherever in the world.
Oh, it's like the jumper thing.
I think that would, yeah, like Jumper or the dude from Powers.
Okay.
Nice.
All
right.
Or wait.
I have one.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Oh. All right. Cool. Yeah. So I used to like really like telekinesis was something that I thought was always really cool. However, a year ago, my friend actually said this superpower that he would like, and I'm totally going to steal it because it's so much better than mine. It's instant, making someone have instant diarrhea, like massive, crazy amounts of diarrhea. Because you think about it, if you're in a terrible situation and you make somebody have just like ungodly amounts of diarrhea, they're going to stop what they're doing because everything is awful now in their life.
Well, yeah, like
in this moment.
if you're getting mugged or like somebody is getting mugged, you're like, you have diarrhea. They stop mugging that person.
Right.
Putting you in the presence of someone having ungodly amounts of diarrhea.
But see, their reaction will then be like, oh no, and then you can run away. Or save the person that you're trying to save. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Just
Not a
carry
fan of
like
being in the
nose
area.
plugs everywhere.
Just carry nose
Just-
plugs? Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That could be a part of the
Yeah,
costume.
just yeah.
I'm gonna steal one that I saw on Facebook one time. It's kind of unorthodox and weird but once you think about it, it's really cool. It's the ability to refill things, anything. So it has multiple uses. So you can get things that you want, like if you want more food and your container and your plate's empty, you can boom refill it. If you similar situation to Brian, if somebody's like attacking you, boom, fill their bladder. Now I have to pee. And there's like so many, there was a whole list of like useful things you could do with this random superpower that totally convinced me. So that's what I'm going
I
with.
feel like that's a bolt superhero.
I definitely would use it to refill my gas tank because gas prices are. I don't like those right now.
Good one.
It has so many.
Yes.
It has so many uses.
That's like
You would
the
be always discovering new things to do with
exactly. You have a permanent road trip opportunity right there. Oh, I'm on my gas.
Right.
Refill.
it. Yeah.
I like it.
I think mine was okay. So you guys are gonna think this is just dumb, but like I would like to shrink.
I don't know, man. I had instant
That's
diarrhea. I mean, I didn't have instant diarrhea. Let me clarify.
Yeah.
I'm saying yours got to be better than mine.
So mine would be to like shrink and not like super small, like Ant-Man size, just like a foot. Like if I have to go through a small doorway or stuff. And I'm not even that tall. I just don't like to stick out like a sore thumb when I'm in crowds. Like I'm just like I get super just. Oh, I'm in the way. I need to shrink real quick and just like
Yeah. Hold on.
like
Let me get this straight. Your superpower is to be a normal sized person.
yeah. Well, like okay. So
I feel you.
let's say
I just feel like I relate because I feel like that superhero like power came from like social anxiety. Which
Yeah.
it does. It very much does.
Like, can I not be your?
You can't see me because I blend in with everyone else.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. An invisibility cloak of normalcy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's like because so that is I am claustrophobic, but it only happens when I'm around a butt ton of people. So like if I shrink, I've just gained like at least 6 inches on each side of myself that wasn't there to begin with. So I'm no longer claustrophobic.
Good thing you don't go to events with a ton of people there to do interviews and stuff.
Yeah, that. So those are very special days because I got to psych myself up.
You gotta build yourself up for those days. Huh?
Bringing the brown paper bag with you.
Well, you can ask Lucas. I'm always like, do we have everything? Are we good to go? Am I sweating? What is happening?
Riding in the
just-
car
I
with the
have
Rocky
this
theme
take-
song.
Yeah.
You gotta like,
I like will very venture to the other side of the table because there's a lot of people on the other side of the table. It's just us on behind the table.
yeah. No, like
Natural.
I think okay. So we usually go on the days to interview when there's a butt ton of people. We're gonna start going like the day before or something. Like that's a way better idea, I think.
Yeah. Because
You can usually get more people's attention that way because they're not missing out on sales.
That's true. That is
Yeah,
definitely true.
especially like early on, like if it's like a 3-day show,
When you're
like
setup.
early Friday, like right when it starts or something.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a win-win. I don't have social anxiety, and they don't have to miss out on a sale. It's great.
Exactly. There you go.
Okay, so this one is kind of similar, but it's a little different. Like, so you have to give like, what is your real superpower you would have, like of your So in reality, what would be your superpower? Like, what is one thing you can do that nobody else can do, or that you are that you exceed at?
Just like Scooby human tricks, or is this like?
I mean, yes, you can take it like that. Okay, so I have gas really bad, so I can clear a room. Like I can that's my superpower. I can clear a room really fast.
Well done.
That's in reality my superpower.
Oh man.
Mine might be eating candy.
Eating candy. There you go. You get like a sugar rush really fast.
Amount of candy.
You
What?
get like a sugar rush and you can move faster, maybe.
No, she doesn't even get a sugar rush. She just like eats candy, and it's just like normal.
Oh, it's immune.
go
You're
through sugar-
immune to sugar rushes.
Yeah, if she does. Yeah, if she doesn't eat candy on the regular, she'll like be in the corner shaking or something because she doesn't have sugar in it. So.
No, but for real though, I have been diagnosed with sugar withdrawals before because I eat so much sugar, particularly candy, and and we like did like a healthy eating thing, and I cut out a lot of sugar, and I literally like doctor told me I was having sugar withdrawals. I was having mood swings. I was shaking a little bit. I was feeling sick, getting lightheaded, all that.
So I mean, you can handle sugar. That's actually that. So I'd help out with youth ministry at church. That would help me out a whole lot because I wouldn't have like highs and lows when I'd go to youth events. Like I eat so much sugar, I'm fine. Like I'm good. Okay, Lucas. Lucas, are you ready? What is yours?
Man, this is a
hard one.
yeah. Okay, so this I feel like I'm just kind of making this one up, but I'm going to run with it. I have the ability to put up with just about anything.
He does.
Like,
All right.
just,
Super patient.
yeah.
That is practical.
That's one thing that I try to do. Some things, kind of sets me over the edge, but it doesn't happen very often. So I'm gonna run with that.
Nice. There you go. All right, Brian, your turn. You're in the hot seat.
All right. I guess I have no idea. I guess I could like make awkward situations funny by stating the awkwardness of the situation.
Okay. There you go.
Does that make sense?
You eliminate awkwardness by
I feel
more
like I
awkward.
do that a lot. Like when there's like an awkward situation,
So
I'm like,
you
haha,
should-
this is awkward because of this. And everybody laughs.
Diffusing awkwardness.
Or they don't laugh and it's even more awkward, and then I feel like I've really succeeded at that point.
So it's almost like a 50-50. Like it's either you make things more awkward or you diffuse awkwardness.
Right. It's like a superpower and a super weakness all at the same
There you
time.
go. That's it. We found your struggle. Found your what is it called? What is it like your kryptonite? There we go. I should know
Yeah,
that.
kryptonite.
Okay.
That actually makes me sad that you had to struggle with that. for
Yeah,
a
because
second.
I do enjoy DC. Well, I was gonna say like not kryptonite, but that's the word that came to my mind. It's like your secret weakness, or what is it? Is there a different word for it?
Oh,
Your weakness.
Is there? I feel like there's a different word for it though.
Achilles heel?
There we go. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
that's. I think
I
it's
don't
what
think
it
that's
is.
what it is in comics, but it's essentially the same thing. I think it's just your weakness. I think you're right, Lucas, but I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe
I'm
I'm
gonna
wrong.
look this up later, and it's gonna be like the aha moment. Okay. Next question, and this one's kind of like pairs. Okay, so it's if your friend / partner. So for me, it's Lucas. Lucas is my friend, not my partner. For you guys, it's your partner. I want to
I'm
make
glad
that
you
clear.
made that clarification.
Yeah.
Because I was about to say, like, easy now, man. I mean, you're cool and all, but
Okay, so if your friend or partner had a superpower, what would it be? So like this is you answering for them.
like a real life superpower,
Yes.
or okay. So Kirby
Okay,
has
go.
this like very unknown ability where he has really bad gas and clear a room.
You can't just use the one I used.
No, okay. Here's from being around Kirby since the age of like 5. This is what I've noticed. He's never met a stranger. Like there was somebody like whenever you walk to class with him or anything like that, he'll just be walking and he'll say hi to like 20 people just walking to class or something like that. It was very, very strange. And I was like, Kirby, do you even know that guy? And he was like, yeah, he was in my chemistry class 4 years ago. And it's like, he doesn't know who you are.
They do, though. They do. It's...
So I'm like the opposite. I always assume, like, I recognize people and I assume they don't know who I am.
No, I just,
Until they
it's a given. They know you.
Yeah, no, I did the same thing. I ran into two people I met or I worked with for like a year, like 3 years ago at this point, and I didn't say anything to them because I was like, "There's no way they remember me."
Okay, I'm gonna answer for Lucas. Lucas has the uncanny ability to hide in plain sight in crowds. Like, people will not notice him. He just stands there, like, in the corner, and he could disappear. Because I've lost him at Comic-Cons before. I'm like, where the heck is Lucas? Where's my camera guy? And he's, like, right beside me. I was like, oh, hey, there he is.
You just, like, hear him breathing behind you. Like, oh, God.
Legit, I turned the corner. I was like, where's Lucas? And he was like, I looked this, like, to my right, and he was actually on my left. I'm like, how did you get over there?
So, like,
it's hard to lose a 6'7" dude. I mean, come on.
So he has the superpower that you want.
Yeah, exactly. I'm jealous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jelly.
It has taken me many years to perfect this ability.
It's like Assassin's Creed over here, just like blend.
Just throw my hood up and just.
Oh man. All right. Well, we're about to get like super cute up in here.
Gross.
Just want you to know. She's my wife. I have to. Well, actually, I will say that I think your biggest superpower, because it happened to me, you have the ability to, once you get to know people, that you teach them how to be more compassionate, like just by being around you, because you are one of the most compassionate people I've ever met. I know, right? But no, for real, like I think that is probably one of my favorite qualities about you, because I was like emotionally numb at some point. Like I was dead inside, and then like over the last 6 years, Robyn and I've been together, I'm just like, now I like see a kitten and I'm like, oh! And it's embarrassing, but it's just like, you know, she brings out compassion in people and that good quality. Top that. All right.
I was just gonna say, your superpower is that freaking everybody loves you. Okay.
That's not true. That's
No.
not true.
Listen, it can be infuriating sometimes. Everyone likes this man. There's like 2 people I've known of, like ever, that
They
don't like
really
him.
didn't like
And yeah. And usually, I'm very careful. Like, usually, if they don't like him, it's because they're.
I don't know what that means.
It's not much of a loss. Let's just put it that way. I was trying to not be mean.
If they don't like him, they're butts.
For the record,
Like,
I don't actually know who these 2 people are. Like,
I'm not thinking of 2 specific people, but no, like when we were dating, like
don't give
kind of made me
examples.
mad.
You're gonna make me blush now.
No, I'm just saying it kind of sometimes because I'm like this man went to like 9 proms. I
That
kid
is
you
true.
not.
wow.
That is
I
true.
kid you.
I had to buy a tux
That's what
because
sucks.
people kept asking me to go.
Like, you were out
So I
money
was
once
like,
you
all
go
right.
to 9 proms.
I know, man. I should have started charging people.
Exactly.
Like, all right,
Ooh, no, that's
$100.
too close to something else that we're not going to address.
I think I just said that. I think I just said I should have been an escort. That's not okay.
It's okay. At least you didn't use the other word for it. You used like the euphemism for it.
Not the pink, you know, just the dancing and the fun and the laughter. I'm gonna stop.
You put that as like the fine print on your business cards.
Put it on my resume.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know. You might not get certain jobs because you have that on your resume.
No, it's not a good idea. Yeah.
Okay.
You do what now? You're 31. You go to proms professionally? Something's wrong there.
That's not.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're gonna roll into kind of like your credentials for being a comic book author, and by this I mean your past with comic books.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, like,
This is where
All
where
right.
it makes or breaks you. Okay.
So, where did you study to become a? No, I'm sure.
Okay.
oh,
So, what was your first comic book? This is for everybody, but Brian can answer first.
Yeah.
the first comic book that I remember was The Death of Superman.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one to start with.
Yeah. Yeah, that was probably the first one that I remember. I know there were others, I just don't really remember them. But that one had my buddy Joe and I both have that in common. Like he loves Superman so much more than I do. But and like Death of Superman changed his life, and it did not do that for me. But that was like I remember like I had a little tape recorder and I would like narrate the comic, right? Like so like I would like do an audio book and then I would play it back because I was such a nerd. And I'm like 7 years old and like talking about doing the audio book of Death of Superman. But yeah, that was the first one that I remember owning.
That's a solid one. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have more respect. Like it was already up here. Now it's like above the threshold. Who would like to go next?
I can go.
Go for it.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say one would sure.
No, I actually know because it was freshman year of college, believe it or not. My first comic book, and it was some random Batman comic, like super random, like way late issue of one of like the weird spin-off series. But what happened was in my UK 101 class, I was in UK 101 for first generation students, and my professor was just this really fun guy, and like one day he said like part of our homework was to read, like he just brought in like a big old stack of his comics and like handed them out. It was like, your homework is to read this comic book.
Excellent.
That guy's good.
professor.
That guy's a good one.
He just wanted more people to read comic books. Like that's all.
That's fine.
That's literally
that's all you need.
Yeah. And that was my first comic book. So
Doing the
then I
Lord's
met this
work.
guy.
Yeah, and then you're just hooked. You're like, well, this guy's perfect now that I love comic books.
Right. No.
Well, now I read like one other one, and that was
Yeah, no.
Powerpuff Girls,
Here's the
so-
thing. I can't get her to read comics. I can barely get her to read mine.
Oh wow.
Like it's ridiculous. And it's like, here's some really good things. She's
No, I
like,
read yours. I read all yours.
oh, well, all right, cool.
Yeah, I
But
read
like
yours.
other than that, I don't think she's read anything else. Did you actually read the Powerpuff
I read
Girls?
some of the Powerpuff Girls.
How many
Not
pages?
the whole graphic novel.
I bought you 3.
Well,
Oh wow.
3 graphic novels.
where'd they go?
I don't know. Did you hide them? Just like he won't know where they are.
No. I didn't hide them.
Okay, Lucas.
I don't know. We'll look later.
You're in the
I think
hot
they're
seat.
in our.
Okay, so my first one that I've ever actually owned, I do not remember what it was. It was some like really crappy, like just one single issue kind of thing I got whenever I was in like 3rd or 4th grade, and the only thing I remember from it is the hero of this comic book was fighting this other dude, and I remember him like grabbing him by the mouth and turning him inside
Oh
out.
wow, that's graphic for your first comic book.
Right? And
How
I
old
was
were you
like,
when you read this comic?
Yeah, how old were you?
I was in like 3rd grade
What?
or 2nd grade or something like that, and I was scarred until freshman year of college. So that was the only one I ever bought.
Wow.
Like growing up, and then freshman year of college. But I grew up a huge fan of all superhero, like the cartoons and shows and movies, and huge Spawn fan growing up, which may seem weird. And Kirby actually bought me a Batman and Spawn crossover, was what actually got me into reading comics, like
Oh, nice.
a lot. But
Yeah, that was Frank Miller and Todd McFarlane, right?
it was.
Yeah,
It was
that's
actually pretty
crazy.
good.
It was actually really good. I remember
Yeah.
that.
I found that.
Strange crossover.
I found that at a half price books. I was going through, like, I'm like, oh, Lucas would love this. He loves Batman and he loves Spawn. I'm like, easy birthday present.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, I actually have Spawn issue 1 signed by Todd McFarlane.
Oh, what?
I like the lady that I worked with, like, walked up to me one day and was like, "Hey, I got this for you." It turns out her brother works one-on-one with Todd McFarlane at his toy company.
No biggie.
So he was like, "Here you go." I was like, "Thank you." So I got like
God.
a frame behind me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was so cool. It was so nice of her.
I have a similar. Okay, so we'll have a similar question later that I can relate to kind of that.
All
But
right.
my first comic book ever, and it's kind of like a vanilla, like, oh, of course that's your first comic book. It was like it was an issue 1 of Captain America, which it was really good. Like I was I think I was 5 or 6, and my mom's friend's husband has, like, I didn't even know he had comic books, and like my mom and her friend were like hanging out one day, and I had to go with her because I was 5, I couldn't stay at home alone. And he's like, "Hey kid, come here, I want to show you something," and he takes me down to his basement and just lines of boxes of comic books, and I was like, oh heck yes. Oh, that sounds really bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say that could have went an entirely
Get your
different
minds out of
way.
the gutter, you ugly people. Oh my gosh. I was trying to reminisce and you guys ruined it. Okay, whatever. What is your favorite superhero?
Oh. Why don't you go first this time, Robin?
Because I'm not sure yet. Go.
Oh, okay. Batman.
Okay, good one. Solid.
Definitely.
Solid answer.
Batman is definitely my favorite superhero. I have like a weird category for this. I've thought about this multiple times because I'm ridiculous and have no life.
We're a good company. We do this a lot.
I love Batman as my favorite superhero. My favorite comic book character is Hellboy.
Okay, there you go.
I don't really like. You could classify him technically as a superhero, but it's more supernatural horror fairy tale kind of thing. So, I like them both equally. I think Batman just has a little bit longer in my life because he's been around in my life a lot longer than Hellboy.
Well,
I got introduced to Hellboy maybe 7-8 years ago, and ever since then I've just been like, oh my goodness, this is amazing.
Well, parents are kind of reserved. They're like, I don't think my child should be reading Hellboy, but Batman, yeah, sure, definitely Batman.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Although some Batman stories are a lot more intense than Hellboy.
You're not wrong, but parents don't know that.
Right?
Oh, is it my turn?
Sure, go for
I
it.
don't know.
Mine's kind of tied between Black Panther and Wonder Woman.
Okay.
I've always loved Batman. And I've always loved Flash. They're like tied for second.
I like all of them. They're all tied.
No,
They're
like
great.
tied for first, Black Panther and Wonder Woman. Tied for second, Batman and the Flash.
Okay, not bad picks. Not bad picks.
I don't know why.
You hate the TV show,
Wait,
though.
because it's bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
I agree with Robin. The TV. I don't like any of the
Okay,
CW TV
Bad
shows.
now. The first season, though, was awesome.
Yeah.
I love the first season, mostly because of the
first,
reverse.
like 2 seasons of both Arrow and Flash were good, and then it
Yeah.
just like
They just
went straight downhill.
Yeah.
They're bad now,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I watched like 4 or 5 seasons of both, so I can't say a whole lot.
Yeah, but like you gotta come to Robin's defense.
Yeah,
I
they're
agree
so
with her.
bad, but like watching a soap opera.
Guy's name I can't stand on the Flash. Cisco. I cannot stand
yeah.
Cisco.
Oh gosh, Vibe is not supposed to be like that. Or no, that's not his. Yeah, his name's is. Yeah, he's Vibe.
He's Vibe. He turns out to be Vibe in like the
Yeah,
third
they.
season.
Spoiler alert, I guess. A little late, but whatever.
I mean, really. You don't need to spoiler alert that. If you don't know that, you're not going to watch
That's
the
true.
show
Yeah, like,
by now.
if you don't already know like some background, you're not gonna go and watch it.
Right, yeah. And if you are, you deserve to know now.
You
For
should
waiting
be,
so long.
your expectation should be wrecked. Just yeah. Um, so my favorite superhero, and Lucas knows this very well, is Green Lantern, because he's awesome. He can do anything he wants to, and
And Green
One.
Lantern can do other things.
Yeah. wait, what'd you say? What'd you
I
say,
would-
Brian?
Which one? Which Green Lantern? Hal Jordan?
No, you would think, but no. Kyle Rayner's my favorite.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I like Kyle Rayner.
Kyle Rayner's awesome.
Yeah.
He's the white Lantern. It turns out in New 52, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
Yeah, I think my favorite was John Stewart.
Jon Stewart's a good one. Jon Stewart's the one most people know, like because of the Justice League TV show.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, there he is.
Awkwardly holding him up.
Why doesn't he say hi?
So, my story, similar to your Spawn story, was we went to Cincinnati Comic Con, and Daryl Banks was there, who is the illustrator for the Kyle Rayner comics that I grew up on. Because my parents thought I couldn't read; it's just I didn't enjoy reading until my grandma got me a stack of comic books, and they were all Kyle Rayner Green Lantern stuff. And I think I did cry when I met Daryl Banks at Cincinnati Comic Con. Like, it's on video that I choked up a
Yeah.
little bit.
It was hilarious.
Well,
We were just walking down. And he goes, "That's Daryl Banks." He's like, I gotta go talk to him. I gotta go talk to him.
I freaked out. Like, to meet someone that you've been looking at their art for so long, I was beside myself. And he kind of freaked out a little bit. He didn't know how to take it, because I was like the nerd's like, "Hey, Mr. Banks, how's it going?" But yeah, not my proudest moment, but one of my happiest.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a moment like that with the first time I saw Neil Adams. Not even the first time I met Neil Adams, but the first time I saw him from afar at a Comic Con.
Oh, wow.
He totally.
I fanboyed hard, man. Like, I walked by the guy's multiple tables that he had, and I just kind of saw him, and I was like, and I didn't talk.
More
I didn't talk for,
I was talking to you. You stopped and just.
I just, unashamedly stared at him for a good 5 minutes.
I know Lucas
Just-
was getting B-roll for our mini doc, and you just hear it, I was editing it, and I just hear, "Oh my gosh!" Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a cool thing, when you start doing the Comic Cons and everything, just seeing all these people that you've kind of idolized your entire life and followed all their work. Now they're right in front of you the whole weekend.
Exactly.
And you're you're working the same that they're working. It's just it's crazy.
And I don't know who most of them are.
I know. It's we'll be walking by some like Neil Adams, right? Huge artist, writer for DC, and had some pivotal storylines with Green Lantern, Green Arrow, and Batman, and I'm I grew up reading his stuff, and I freaked out in this moment. I'm like, "Do you know who that is?" She's like, "No, I have no idea who that is." I'm like, "Oh, that's so sad."
I know I got a little freaked out too, because Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo were both at Cincinnati Comic Con as well for New 52 Batman and stuff like that. They were the big comic book guests. I looked at Lucas and was like, "Whoa." And that wasn't a surprise. I was like, "Hey, they got some pretty good guests here this time." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that was our first event, and they were there. And we're like, "Oh my gosh, we're not bad." Okay, so now we're gonna kind of get into the writing process, and there's two big questions, not huge questions, and these are more directed for you, Brian.
Okay.
What has been your favorite part of the writing process, or the whole endeavor of writing a comic book and illustrating?
It's interesting because, it's I'll write, and then when I get a little bit tired, because I'm never tired of dreaming up stuff, right? I love just sitting there dreaming up stories, taking notes. Taking notes is probably my favorite part of the whole process, because you don't have to sit down and write a script. You don't have to sit down and make yourself draw. Even though I love doing both of those things, writing notes is just like daydreaming and just dreaming up really cool things that you want to, themes you want to talk about, different characters you want to introduce and what you want to do with them and how everybody's stories intertwine and all of that kind of stuff. So just dreaming it all up and writing random notes down. Like I have notes now, like we're on, issue 4, trade 1, and I have like notes for the last issue of the entire series. So like, it's just, but I don't fill in any of the blanks really. I just kind of like write notes randomly and then connect them like a puzzle. And I do have an outline, which is also a lot of fun to write. So outlines and notes are probably my favorite part, because there's just a lot of, dreaming it all up. And then when I get the urge to go write, I can do that, and I can pick it up and, write, part of an issue or write notes or do something. And then when I'm tired of that and I want to go draw something, I can just focus all my time on that, and I'm always being productive, which is nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you
or
did.
not.
Like, there was a big answer, and I loved it. Like, I don't think many people think of just having a creative outlet. I know they think of hobbies, and like, if your hobby's golf, you think about, I'm getting better on my drive. But I guess for content creators, your favorite part or you thriving is, listen to what I dreamed up today, or listen to like the topic I thought of today, or listen to this article I found. It's and that's one thing. Like I like having creative outlets. Before I did the podcast, I did TNL, which you guys know of. It's like Thursday Night Live. It's sketch
Yeah,
show.
awesome. So great.
Did that, loved that, and I needed something. And luckily, I had gullible friends like Lucas and my buddy Chris that said, "Oh, hey, we'll do a podcast with you." But I'm super thankful for that, because I might explode because all the stuff I want to say but don't get to say.
Yeah.
And I assume that's kind of what it is like for you, because you have so many ideas, right?
Oh gosh, yeah, and like there are other stories that I want to tell eventually too, which I hope I'm able to, because Memoirs it's become such a vast world. Like it's because what it originally started at. It originally started with just me spending time studying the Bible, really, and just I went to Bible college and I took all that knowledge and I loved comics, obviously, and so like I wanted an outlet just to kind of take this knowledge that I'm gaining and apply it to storytelling, and just kind of I guess this may sound really weird, but it's like a form of just worship, I guess, to God, which is really strange because it comes out in a horror fantasy where like people are thrown on stakes and everything. So it's like, how you worshiping there, weirdo? But so that's a part of it, because my faith is a huge part of the story, and so it's an outlet to just to use to express all the knowledge and relationship that I have with God, and put it in this, and then turn it into a really good story that other people would actually want to read and be a part of. And it just keeps growing. Like I have spin-off ideas and I have all these other things, but at the same time, like there's a story that I want to tell of like an epic fantasy origin story of Santa Claus that I want to do and have fun with that, that has absolutely nothing to do with Memoirs. And then there's another comic that hopefully here pretty soon, I won't say too much. I'm going to be partnering with a couple good buddies. It's going to be a spoof superhero comic, and that has nothing to do with Memoirs. So there's plenty of things that I have on the back burner that I've also got going on, but they're just, they've all very much come to a halt because Memoirs is growing and is taking off on Kickstarter, and so I'm very thankful and excited about that. So yeah, but I've got other stuff going on too, but not anytime soon because I'm so busy, thankfully.
Well, yeah, that's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go to the opposite of that question. What's the hardest thing about the writing process, or about the whole endeavor? What is the hardest part?
The hardest part is probably the days when I don't want to do it, honestly. the days when I just kind of want to sit on the couch and read comics or read a book or watch a Netflix TV show. And honestly, I would say the biggest part of it is time management. The discipline of doing the work anyway. Because it sounds great, like a hobby is something that you do for fun, but when it crosses into kind of a business arena, you have to be disciplined with it. You have to just do it when you don't want to. And then I find myself more often than not, when I do that, I end up enjoying it because that's what I love to do anyway. But at the beginning of that process, I would much rather do something else. And that falls in the lines of, watching a TV show or hanging out with friends and doing other things, because I love hanging out with my friends and I love doing that. And unfortunately, I've had to take a step back from doing that so much because I was such a social butterfly, growing up and I sorry, you just picture me as a butterfly, beautiful butterfly. But like I was always hanging out with people and always developing relationships and always, loving that. And unfortunately, because I have a full-time day job, I've got to go work there and do that for 40 plus hours a week and then come home and work on the comic and all those variables that come with that. And I'm married. I have a wife whom I love and want to spend time with. So, and then there's just the chores that don't happen that I should be doing every day. And it's just, so time management is definitely the hardest thing for sure.
And I think people, hear time management and they go, oh yeah, I have to deal with that. But for you, it's almost that you have 3 jobs instead of just 2. You have the comic book, you have, your daily stuff, maybe even more jobs, and then you have being a husband. And I think people kind of shrug off, oh, that's your hobby. No, that's a job now too that you have to pick up. And I can't say that I've been there because I haven't. But that I definitely sympathize with that. I definitely feel you there. So now we're gonna actually get into the. What was that, Robin?
Is that especially when it means you have to put up with me?
No, it's not. He's awesome. I will say this, this whole process, the comic would not be a reality without Robin. And I mean, I love her, she's my wife, but I mean that practically too. I had this idea in my head for 15 plus years and, but I didn't have somebody over my shoulder saying, do this, just do this. We'll figure out how to make it happen. Just start, we'll do this. And then through the process has jumped in and become, my partner in this. She's handled all the business stuff that I have no idea how to take care of. And so I'm so thankful because if it weren't for her, none of this would have happened. And so she's a very pivotal part of this.
And I just have to say, the reason why I told him to start doing it is because of that favorite part that he talked about before, where he loves thinking up ideas and telling them to people and not connecting things. And when you hear a bunch of those disconnected ideas and you're not in his head, it got to a point where I was like, okay, either write them down and connect them so I know what you're talking about, or stop talking about it.
I think she actually said that.
Well, yeah. He loves to brainstorm in the shower, and he'll get done and he'll just start spewing out all these crazy ideas, and I have no imagination, none. So he'll be telling me all these things, and I'm like, okay, now who is this again? And who is that? And wait, where are they? And what's happening? And we get so confused. I'm like, can you just write it down? Can you just do the book? I'll read the book.
Yeah, it's
and
funny.
I have, and it's good.
It is funny though, I will have zero creativity happening, and then I'll get in the shower, and it'll just all happen. It's like the shower is the magical place.
That's really weird.
It does.
We've had a lot of weird statements in this episode. I'm not gonna lie.
All the writing happens there. I get these. I have written probably half of Memoirs. The first trade that's on Kickstarter right now. I've probably written half of that in the shower, and then had to run out afterwards and type it all down.
He literally throws clothes on and then like runs around looking for a pin. Like, I need a pin. I need a pin.
Yeah.
And then he like scribbles things down
Yeah.
for a while.
Sometimes I forget to dry myself. I just,
Oh. Okay, so people in this interview have heard a lot about like Memoirs mentioned. So let's actually get down to the meat of what is Memoirs. So the book is Memoirs of an Angel, correct?
Yeah.
Who is this story about? Who's the main character in this?
Well, in this particular book, that's an interesting question because there are very different levels of that answer. The main human character is a man named Jonathan Young, and when we meet him, he's kind of at the end of his rope. He's been on this quest for revenge for 6 years, wandering through this desert, trying to find this particular woman who is a witch, who has caused him a lot of pain in his life, and he's been seeking after her, essentially to end her, and if he dies in the process, he does not care. So that's where he's bitter and angry, and we meet him, and then at the end of the first issue, he gets caught up into this huge cosmic war, and we actually go back in time at that point and meet two angelic characters, and they're on there, and Moriel and Acalian, and they are on their individual journeys as well. And then by the end of issue 4, all of their stories come together in a very interesting way. And then from that point on, for actually what I have in store next for issues 5 through 10 is all of their stories continuing as one. So it's an ensemble cast from that point on. So this first volume kind of acts like an anthology, and then they all come together, and then the next volume we will continue the story with all of them together.
Okay.
In their respective ways. So yeah.
Nice.
That was a loaded answer. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No, well, I mean, I wanted you to flesh that out more than just like, oh, his name's Jonathan Young. That is what it is.
There's the dude. He's mad.
Yeah, he's mad. He's mad at a witch. Whatever.
Yeah, he's mad at a witch. Wants to kill him.
And what I hear is you talked about your faith being a big part of this, and you're hearing this in the angelic characters, but I also hear it in the character of Jonathan Young, right? No, what is yeah. Did you have any connection when you were writing with Jonathan or any of the characters?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. He is a huge part of me. It's actually he's named after my grandfather. I never knew my grandfather, so I don't know if he's anything like him. Hopefully not, because he's a mess. But there were, being a writer, I'm able to kind of take personal experiences and apply them into fiction. So, I've never been through the things that Jonathan has been through, which the reader will find out eventually. But I've been through some, not so fun stuff, and a lot of it, was my fault. And so there were things that, mistakes that I've made, things that I have gone through, and just general life experiences, good or bad. I was able to pour all of those things into this character and just kind of deal with my own issues kind of through just writing his story and putting him through hell. So, but yeah, and it's interesting because like most of the human characters that I've written and come up with will probably all have some piece of me or somebody else that I know. But the angels, I have tried really hard. I mean, I'm the writer, so I feel like every character is going to have a little bit of me in it. But the angels, because I'm writing them as extremely perfect, extremely holy, they don't have a whole lot of me or anyone else that I know in them. I've actually reached out to other characters in different books that kind of play more like that kind of role, like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. He's somebody that I have modeled after. for the character of Moriel. There's some of Gandalf that's in there, and then there's some of there's actually some a little bit of Batman in the angelic character Acalian. He's not as dark and troubled and brooding because he's an angel, but he has that brute strength, and he's a warrior angel, as Moriel is more of a messenger. So, but they end up working together, and they work together perfectly. So yeah, there are characters that are very much me. There are characters that are very much other people in my life, and then other people that aren't real, that I've read or I've seen on television. And I'm putting just different pieces of them into this character to make someone new.
So the last question I have is so how do you want the audience to feel when they read this, or what do you want the audience to gain from this book when they read it?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. In all seriousness, I want them, for this first book, I think my goal for them is to acknowledge that, well, first of all, have a good time with it. If you like horror fantasy, it is right up their alley. So I want them to take that away from it, just enjoying a good story, enjoying that type of genre, very much playing to that genre, but acknowledge that the spiritual world is real. This story is fiction, of course, but it's based on biblical themes that I believe to be true and I believe to be fact, and that is one of them. That this world that we see in front of us is not do what? It's not everything. Exactly. Thank you. It's not. There's so much more than what we see. And if you don't believe that, contemplate it. Think about it. Study up on it. Actually thoroughly investigate it. And then see what you find from it. But I think that's probably, with this book, that's the main focus that I'd really like people to think about. And I wrote, I've written a couple of blogs on my website about that, just showing, hey, there's more than just a story that I think is really cool here. There are truths that I'm trying to speak through fiction. So yeah.
Although it's
And you were saying earlier that this writing process, this book, is a form of worship for you, but it's also a form of evangelism as well. And I have a lot of respect for authors or any content creator that puts themselves out there in the evangelism state of being vulnerable with their audience, of saying, this is what I believe. How do you feel about it? Because me and Lucas have come across like Hydra Publications at Comic-Cons, Tony Ackery, who's very strong in his faith, and his name escapes me, but we met one at Marble City Comic-Con, and I will think of it after the show. But it's amazing that you guys are so open, even though they're not directly looking at you. They're looking at almost inside you when they read these books by you guys. And I respect you a lot for that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I said from the beginning, I never wanted this to be your quote unquote Christian comic. I have my own issues with having a Christian genre, but it is very much a horror fantasy comic that addresses biblical themes. And so I don't want to knock anybody else's hard work, but this isn't the equivalent to like another Action Bible or something like that. Like this is very much its own story, its own thing, and it's not preachy. I never wanted to approach it that way. I wanted to approach it through storytelling and not a systematic kind of way of letting people know.
And because we believe the Bible is practical, so we can kind of address biblical themes and issues and even specific things in the context of storytelling, I think in a very helpful way that sort of facilitates discussion and thought in a way that just direct conversation might not. I mean, we do the same thing with all sorts of different, every kids movie you watch is trying to tell some sort of, this is how this should be, or this is how you should be. And so kind of the goal that he said is to kind of lay out, hey, this is the way that this is what the Bible says about us and about other people and about the world in general, and to kind of discuss those in a way that is fun and cool and scary and and just to get people thinking
And a real
entertained.
story, a
Right.
real story with real characters that are fleshed out, and it's not just about, oh, well, you're just clearly trying to tell me that I should follow Jesus.
Mhm.
And I mean, no, I mean, good, but no, I mean, it's much more than that. And as we go further into the series, we're going to explore really tough issues and really tough questions through story. It's not just going to be like, this is the moral of this issue. It's going to be, these characters go through certain things and experience, things that we experience, really hard things that we have to go through. And, they're not always going to handle it well. They're going to handle it very poorly, but there's still a lesson to be learned. There's still, it's kind of like, it's like the Old Testament. Like, you look at all these people making really terrible mistakes, yet at the same time, God is using these terrible choices that these people are making, and he's still crafting his ultimate story that leads to saving humanity. So yeah, that's the approach, and that's the evangelistic side of all of this. But like I said, it's more subtle. It's through storytelling.
Yeah. And I think that it will be a great story because you're getting to where the audience can relate to stuff, and I think that's amazing. I think that's really good.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you taking the time out of your night and I'm sure busy schedule of the Kickstarter and writing and all this. I really appreciate you taking this time with us, Brian, and Robyn too. And Robyn, thank you so much as well for being on the show. We appreciate you guys so much for just helping us create content.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you guys very much.
Oh, go ahead. What was that? Did you say something?
I said sorry for that.
Oh, yeah. And okay, so Kickstarter is going on right now, correct?
Yes, Kickstarter is it's actually been crazy. We launched on June 29th at 12 p.m. By 2:30 p.m. on June 29th, we were 100% funded already.
Wow, dang, that's awesome.
$2,000, which was awesome. It was crazy. Like the first 5 days was just nonstop. And so as of earlier today, I haven't actually looked at our numbers. Oh, you have them pulled up.
Right now.
As of right now.
Which will hopefully be different by the time.
Maybe, we'll see.
But anyway, as of right now, we're at $4,247.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Which is 212% funded with 74 awesome backers.
Yeah.
And we have 17 more days.
Yeah.
So it ends July 29th.
July 29th at 8 p.m. is when it is over. And we've unlocked 3 stretch goals. The first one was the theme song for the comic book series, which I was so thankful to actually have our friends Cameron and Becca composed it, and it's fantastic. And so everybody gets a copy of that who backs, and everybody gets a copy of a visual poem about a witch in the Memoirs universe, and then everybody also gets stickers of the logo and character, a couple of the characters.
And we're working toward koozie.
We're working towards a logo koozie. So if we get that unlocked, that's $5,000. If we get that unlocked, then we've got a few more in mind that I'm excited about. So I hope we get to that point. Here soon.
That's amazing. So today, when we're recording this, it's July 11th. This episode's going to air on July 16th. So till July 29th, correct? They'll have till July 29th.
Yep. July 29th.
And the book is Memoirs of an Angel. We're going to have the link to the Kickstarter in the description of the episode, whether you're listening on iTunes or Podbean or YouTube. It will be on there. So be on the lookout for that. To definitely just scroll down to that description, click that link, go support these guys, these awesome people, and tell them you love them. You can have a little comment on your Kickstarter stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And guys, be sure to get in before July 29th, okay? And Brian has been talking about all these other books he's wanting to write as well. This could lead to that. So if you're interested in some of these other books, definitely go check out this Kickstarter.
Yeah, it could. So absolutely.
Well, guys, thank you guys so much. Wait, Lucas, did you have something?
Before we finish, real quick, yeah. So, do you have a place where we can find your books online, or?
Yes. If you honestly the best thing to do it right now is the Kickstarter, but the other place would be brianrodman.com.
Okay. Yeah.
It has everything that I've done as far as memoirs. We have I've got a few blogs up on there as well, and we have a store. So yeah, brianrodman.com.
Amazing. That was good, Lucas. Way to go, because I forgot about that.
I got you.
Best
Yeah,
co-host
July
right here.
29th, go starter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you guys who are listening. We really appreciate you guys because we can't do what we do without you guys. So I guess hopefully this episode's been better than static. And we'll catch you guys next week.
I see what you did there. That was nice.
It's my catchphrase.
Oh, nice.
The tagline.
Remember that feeling of playing an ultra-hard video game and dying? Over and over and over? Yeah, so do we. Listen to the Controller Throwers podcast on iTunes and Google Play. And check out the live show every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time at twitch.tv/TCThrowers. The Controller Throwers, pressing start since 1985.